Hi, I'm Jerry Almonte.
I'm Bobby White.
Nina Gilkenson.
And this is A Word on Swing. Then we'll have cool intro music. Then I'll have like scene with like thrusting in camera.
In 3D.
1.
My name is Jerry Almonte. I am here with Nina Gilkenson, here for our very special episode of A Word on Swing. A Word on Swing. Get it? And we're just here to chat because I've known Nina for a long time. It feels like a long time.
14 years.
Wow. I think you were 14 when I met you.
I was.
Wow. Just blew my mind. Freaking. This is. So you spent like most of your life, it seems like, as a Lindy Hopper or in Lindy Hop.
Yes, I have.
Do you think about that? Do you think of it in those terms?
I do sometimes. For me, it's most weird when I think about what I'm going to do when I'm done dancing.
Yeah.
Or when I'm done teaching, because I don't have a lot of other skills. Because I never focus on anything else nearly as much as I focus on this, or not even close. A couple years ago, I actually tried to get a day job. I was like, not cuss.
Sure.
I was like, fuck this. I'm tired. I don't travel. I'm exhausted. I want to stay home.
That's fine.
And my parents were ailing, and they were sick, and I was tired, and I just wanted to be with my family and with my boyfriend and be home and whatever. So I tried to get a job as a secretary at a place in Baltimore, and they would not let me. They wouldn't even let me interview because I didn't have a degree in anything. I was like, I don't need a degree in answering phones. I answer the phone like a champion. I can do this. It did make me realize, like, I have actually dedicated all of my energy towards this.
Let's back up a second. Do you have a GED?
No, technically I do not.
Oh, wow.
Technically I'm a 4th grade dropout.
But you were homeschooled.
Yeah, I was. I graduated early, and I was like, I'll just wait. I don't really want to take my GED right now. I just don't want to go through it. It sounds annoying. And then I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Now I'm 28, so I kind of feel like I don't care.
Well, and you've done quite a bit. You have a pretty extensive resume, even without it. I mean, I guess that doesn't help in some circumstances.
No.
You own a ballroom now.
Yep.
You're an International Lindy Hop instructor. You run one of the biggest, if not, it's one of the biggest Lindy events in the entire world.
Yeah.
I mentioned this earlier today. You had said you had not actually considered all those things all at once.
No, in my head they're kind of 3 separate entities. Like, ILHC is one part of me, and teaching is a really different part of me, and then the ballroom is it feels like almost a different person. Mostly because the people, at ILHC, I'm an organizer, so I'm, making sure there's enough water and people have the right hotel rooms and that things are running on time and that, there's people watching. Actually, I don't have to worry about people watching the door because as long as they're being awesome. But there's like those kinds of things to worry about. And then when I'm teaching, like as a teacher, you're a personality. Like, and not that person is any different than the person I am, but it is like you're on all the time. You're in front of people. They expect something from you. You're a personality, and you're out.
Yeah.
And then at the ballroom, no one has any idea who I am. I'm their weekly teacher. Like, they're like, oh, Nina dances. That's cool. She teaches me things sometimes. Like, it's like that one feels the most separate to me because I actually have like a little bit of a hand in those people dancing.
Yeah.
Where I feel like when I go travel, like, I get to like tell people things, and that's really cool, but I don't get to be like helpful or a part of the journey of them actually figuring it out. I feel like you kind of drop nuggets in people's lap and then say like, good luck, I'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
Which is a different feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had never actually considered all of those things together as being me.
You did pretty well for yourself, even from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, you did well in some contests. You were teaching like locally.
I was teaching. I taught in my first event when I was 14.
Yeah.
In Texas. Yeah.
And you taught. So you had some regular gigs.
Yeah.
We were still talking 10 years ago. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Whatever. And you were talking about being a fashion designer and some other possibilities. At what point, or did it ever strike you? You wake up one day and realize I'm an international Lindy Hop instructor.
I don't know. I think I still kind of struggle with it. Like, it doesn't always feel like that's me sometimes, you know what I mean? Like when I actually think, like when I start talking to people about stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, when I was in Korea, blah, 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 like, sometimes that seems kind of like a different person. But I mean, I think it was like, I guess it was a couple years ago. I think it was about a couple years ago that I actually stopped and think about it and was like, oh, I'm pretty fancy. Oh, interesting. I'm pretty good at this. Huh. Because it's one of those things, like the lifestyle is such that, at least for me, I'm sure it's really different for everybody, but like the way that the Lindy Hop instructor lifestyle fits into my life at home, it means that I'm just going. Go. Like I don't have a ton of time to stop and think about it. You know, because I come home between every event so I can see Michael and see my parents and, you know, hang out in like normal life for a couple days. But like, I come home, I'm tired, I do laundry, I'll watch a minimum of 3 hours of SVU on TV with my dog and cat. You know, and I see my at-home friends, and then it's time to pack and leave again. And so like, sometimes I don't stop and think about like, oh wow, I have really consistent work, and I really, yeah, and now like with Ballroom and with ILHC, like, you know, I can spend 10 hours a day answering emails and checking flights and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it for me, I don't, and maybe it's just that I don't take it, but I don't take a lot of time to stop and actually think about where I've gotten to.
Going back to those days, what were you aspiring to? Just like, not just in life in general, but like within the dance. I mean, you got into it, started dancing, and then was there like I want to do well at this, or
well, Naomi and I had a couple sweet goals. Naomi and I had actually kind of similar ones. One was to be in jam, which we realized not super long after we started dancing. We were asked to go in the jam at Glen Echo together, so we did. That happened at the same time. And then, like, I really liked teaching, and I thought it'd be fun to get better at teaching. I don't know if that was necessarily like a goal, but I definitely was interested in it. And then my other goal was to go to Harangue, see what all that was about. Because I had heard about it, it sounded like paradise, where you get to go dance all the time and hang out with a billion swing dancers and that kind of stuff. But I mean, sadly, this is something I'm realizing about myself, but maybe not sadly. Interestingly, I don't often pay super great attention to like what I'm doing and what my actions are going to actually accomplish. Like I'm like, this is right at the time and I'm going to do it. Like and that's kind of how teaching ended up for me. I was like, this seems right at the time. I'm bored. I'm homeschooled, so I have the ability to leave and not miss school. It's great to make money at something that is so fun. And so that just seemed like the right thing to do. I never really set out to be like, it's excellent, this gig will probably help me get other gigs in the future. This exposure is really good for me. Like, I never thought about it that way. I thought about it like, I get to go to Texas this weekend. You know, and then someone at the time calls you, because I didn't have an email address. Or maybe I did, but I'm not sure that I even had a computer. But like then someone calls you and they say, hey, I saw you at blah, and you're like, oh, you saw me there? Oh, okay, huh. And it just kind of spirals. But yeah, this was not my intent.
Yeah. What was your first out-of-town gig?
My first out-of-town gig was H-Town Swing in Houston
Oh, okay.
in 1999.
Was that Tina?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I remember Tina called me on the phone because I had met Tina. Tina used to live in DC. Did you know that? Yeah. Tina used to live in DC, and I met her and her sister Kathy at the Glen Echo dances, and she was super nice to me. She just very she was super supportive and just really nice, because it was weird because some of the people I feel like when I started dancing I was 13 and a lot of people were in their 30s and 40s and they were a little weirded out having me there, and at the time I thought it was really dumb, but now that I'm not 13 it seems much more reasonable that 40-year-olds didn't want to hang out with me. It seems totally reasonable now. At the time I was like, why are these people so mean to me? But she was really nice to me, and she had moved to Texas and called me and said, I'm part of this organization down here, HSES, and she asked me to come down, me and Naomi, and she said, we want you to bring someone from DC, how about Jeff Booth, and who was kind of one of my partners at the time. Later we taught a lot more together, but at the time we were just we were on a team together and we were just kind of dancing around. He was one of the, I guess there were 8 of us that all were working on stuff. And so he went down and he taught with me and Naomi. And so he taught half classes with her and half classes with me. And it was really fun. It was it was a totally new experience. I'm positive they were the worst classes of all time. Because I'm very sure that I was not good at teaching Lindy Hop then. But it was cool. I really enjoyed it. And then they asked us back for Lindy Fest that year, and which was the I guess that was 2000. I don't really remember. It must have been 2000 because it was in March. So they asked us back down for that, and then from that, a couple other people called, and a couple other people emailed, and then a couple other people emailed, and here we are. But yeah, that's how I got my first gig. Tina. Thanks, Tina. I actually tell her that all the time because now she's my business partner with ILHC, so I tell her that all the time. I wouldn't be here without you. Nobody would have asked. Literally, nobody would have asked me to teach at 14. And I mean, I guess I was competent enough that other people asked me. I assume that I'm better. I hope I'm better now than I was then. But it must not have been that bad because other people asked. And yeah. Then I just went to every event I could go to with the 15-year-olds allowance.
Let's jump over to ILHC. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the impetus for that. Why you want to do ILHC?
Well, for me, I mean, there's still some parts of ILHC that I'm really into that we haven't realized yet. There's a lot of things that I want to do that just haven't happened yet because things cost so much money, and we can only run a dance event for free for so long. You know what I mean? Or at a deficit. You can only pour that much time and love into something for so long before you actually need a little bit in return, just so that you can realize bigger goals. I've never. I look forward to the day when this is a thing, but I've never actually thought about ILHC as a real money-making thing for me. For me, my main goal with ILHC is to give people a place for them to compete and show all of the stuff they've accomplished when they're dancing, whatever their journey is in dancing, to be able to show that in kind of an environment that they deserve. You know what I mean? So not nearly as big as I want, but money prizes, I want them to be much, much bigger.
Yeah.
And that's one of the goals for that I think is a really important one. Is I would love it if, especially for the big contests, the ones I consider big contests, Showcase and Classic and Team, the ones that you work the hardest on, in whatever way that you do. I would love it if the people that win that could make a month's salary from that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Sometimes people spend 8 months on a showcase, and then they win, and they each win $500, which is money, and that's great. But you spent 8 months on this. It would be nice, and I think it'd be interesting too, because it might pull other things out of people. If there's a $5,000 first place, guarantee people would do really interesting things.
Might compete.
Yeah, I might compete too. I don't know. So that's one of the goals for me. Is I thought that was one of the beginning goals, was just having an event that the community deserved, because they do. The community deserves a lot, and I think a lot of times we don't get what we deserve as a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're a strong, pretty inclusive, pretty healthy community that, you know, doesn't really have public recognition like mainstream wise, and the stuff that we do is like good, but it's like kind of weird, and you know, half people in the world don't even know, more than half don't even know what swing dancing is, let alone Lindy Hop, and it's such a cool thing, and it's done so much for so many people, and I think I think it's a community that kind of deserves a little prestige and like a little bit of swankiness. Like, we're a hilarious, funny ragtag team of people, as a group, I think.
Yeah.
But like, you should get money, and you should get a trophy, and you should get a huge pat on the back, and people should be able to watch you on the internet, because it's amazing what these people are accomplishing. And you know, it shouldn't just be like back alley stuff. Not that every other event is like that. I don't think that at all. But like, you know, we deserve it. That's all. And then now that it's kind of grown, it takes on a life of its own at a certain point. Like, it's not just what I want for it. Like, sometimes, like, the event itself kind of demands for things, and then you, as the promoter, notice them, and then you help them grow. Like the kids program. That was not me being, like, I wasn't like, you know what we should do? We should have a sweet kids program. Like, I mean, I always wanted kids to be competing, because first thing I ever competed in was junior divisions, and I was so glad they were there that I was allowed to do that. And also, like, it was a little less scary to not be competing against adults that had been dancing for 10 years when I was 13. And I thought that was really a cool opportunity for me as a kid. And so when Val brought all her kids that 1 year, like, I was just blown away by them. And I was like, wow, I want to do anything. Like, that was amazing. And I want to do anything I can to foster that. Like, I want to do anything I can to be part of those kids still dancing. You know, and then we started talking to people, and there are so many groups like that. Not so many. There's a few groups like that with people like Val that are really dedicated to these kids and teaching them, and, you know, have, in some ways, like Val does amazing work all the time.
Yeah.
But she's very selfless in her stuff with those kids. Like, this is not to make her fancier. This is not to, like, further her career. You know, this doesn't, like, even make her a ton of money. It's like, there's not, I mean, other than the fact that she's helping these kids, there's not a lot in it for her, which is awesome. Like, that she's, like, that kind of selfless person. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so, like, so that's another thing, I think, for ILHC that I'm really, especially this year, I'm really into. And, we're big enough now, too, that we can bring some of the old-time dancers, which is really awesome, because I've wanted them to be included. But it's hard to, you know, to navigate all that, and how much you pay people to exist there, and you know, that, and, like, if we do that, what do we have to skimp on, you know? And this year we are able to bring them out, and they're coming, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I kind of can't remember what your original question was. Sorry, I was rambling.
Well, I just asked about Ireland in general. Now, it's funny that you run ILHC now, because in the past, you know, we talked about this before, like, you actually don't work all that much.
Competing just scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I've actually never done a club piece routine. I've made up two. The world has never seen them. Can't even remember what songs it is. I've competed in divisions that were pro routines without one.
Yeah.
Well, programs. I've been a pro 2 times and done programs. But I don't know. Like, I like competing. I actually like competing with a team more than I like competing solo. I like kind of the energy that you can build off of, and also in my experience, having 8 ideas is better than one. Even if you all have the same idea, it ends up being a better thing
Yeah.
in the end because you have so many different, and you also have people to watch you and be like, oh, that looks dumb, or like, oh, that's nasty, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, even though I don't love competing a ton, I think it's super important for the scene.
Yeah.
It inspires people to get better. It's also just fun. I mean, like, it's fun, but it inspires people to get better. It also gives people an opportunity to show off stuff that they probably wouldn't show off on a dance floor, on a social floor, like routines and aerials and stuff like, you know. But also, like, I think it does, at least for me, like, I enjoy watching contests so much. Like, you know, I watch, like, dog shows and figure skating, and, like, I think that stuff is really interesting, and, like, watching people be good at something is actually a super inspiring endeavor, I think. Like, watching people be incredible is really cool. And so, for me, that's what I think competition weekends are about, is, like, just being able to showcase stuff that you've been working on and that you're good at.
Yeah.
Or even just, like, how far you've come from those things. Like, I remember going from, like, open Jack and Jills to, like, advanced Jack and Jills and being like, woo, I'm doing it. This is awesome. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I don't know. It's fun.
Something I noted somewhere else is that we had the first invitational level Jack and Jills and Strictly's about like 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
After most of the people that were in those divisions were dancing about 2 or 3 or 4 years at the time. But now it's an interesting dynamic now that you can have people dancing the same amount of time, maybe even twice as long as that time. And now they have like no hope of getting out of the open level because everyone gets good really fast. Everyone can do like some amazing things. But it's interesting because at least there's a good chunk of you that were elected or selected to be in those invitational levels all those many years ago. And you guys are still there. It's over 10 years later.
You have to wonder how much of that is just because we've been around for a really long time. I have to wonder if anyone actually just checked in how things would change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if all of a sudden the past was completely wiped away, what would change in contests and what would change in who's in invitational and what would change in who's the fancy teachers now and what would change in who's the inspiration for things. You know, I mean, I'm not even saying, like, I don't have anything in mind. I'm just saying, like, it would be interesting to see. But I think the thing about what you just said about, like, a lot of us got there after, like, 2 or 3 years of dancing versus kind of the evolution of what happens now is that I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here just so we're clear, but I think you can be a real different kind of dancer if you take enough classes to get pretty good, and then you set off on like a mystical alone journey to get better. Versus now the scene is really geared towards you take classes forever.
Yeah.
And like people don't really empower themselves to, that's not true, a lot of people do. But I think like kind of masses don't feel the need to empower themselves to learn on their own because there's so many amazing instructors now, right? And well, that's great that there's so many amazing instructors. Like at a certain point, other people can only tell you so much about how your body moves. Yeah. And at a certain point, you got to figure out how your body moves on your own. Because nobody's gonna be able to tell you like, oh yeah, exactly like that, and then you're not. I mean, and even if they can pinpoint stuff, it's not like you're gonna be able to. It's not gonna be as easy for you to start recreating the good things. Yeah. Unless you can actually feel what they're like and you do them on purpose. Yeah. If you accidentally just hit a couple things a couple times and someone's like, yeah, then you're going to be like, oh, they said yeah, and I don't really remember what I was doing, you know. But I know for a lot of us, like, we took some classes, and then we would take classes, you know, at weekends and when fancy people would come to town or just, like, classes from people for specific stuff. But, like, I learned mostly off of videotapes. Yeah. And then after videotapes, after the, like, 13 clips that there are, you know, an accumulative 5 minutes of dancing.
Yeah.
After that, we just all got together and tried stuff and critiqued each other. And I mean, that's I think how any of us got to be, at least with my group, like any of us got to be good teachers, is we taught ourselves and then we taught each other.
Yeah.
Like you'd figure something out and you'd be like, guys, check it out. Here's how you make that shape happen. I think I figured it out. And then we'd all work on it and be like, okay, well that looks good but feels like shit. Or like, that feels great but you look like a turtle or whatever, you know, and then you keep working on it. But I think that like the scene in general doesn't always feel empowered to go off on their own and learn.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we have such a structure now, like you can be dancing for 10 years and it's extremely acceptable for you to be in master's classes and like, or advanced classes and like learning and paying attention, and that's great, but at a certain point, the only reason you listen to any of those people is because they went out on their own journey to figure something out.
Yeah.
Like all the teachers that I respect, like they all took some time and were just like, what is going on? And then they reached something and then they had something to tell people, which is cool. But if we all just did that, we'd all have so many things to say and that would be so awesome.
Yeah. I just think it's very interesting to look at you and Naomi now. And if I told, I can't tell a beginner dancer or someone who's been dancing like a couple of years and say, hey, those two start together, did not see it at all.
No, yeah.
But, you know, I could look out into an open Jack and Jill of like 100 dancers and not see that much variation.
Yeah.
In the field.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, and I think that's the thing is that there's a lot of people out there that are a little bit less interested about becoming the best them. A lot of people are really interested in becoming this ideal. But I don't know I'm not actually sure, I'm still trying to figure out what this ideal is.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like it's like some weird 8-armed, like, Lindy god that I don't understand. But, you know, everybody's like, okay, I'm taking this from this person, this from this person, this from this person, but you end up just looking like kind of a Frankenstein of people that already happened. And with me, like, I don't even think I'm there, but I tried to think about it instead of thinking about, like, I want to be super good. I'm just like, I want to be better than I was a month ago.
Yeah.
In whatever way. Like, I want to be a better teacher than I was a month ago or a year ago. I want to be a better dancer, possibly a better follower. That's the one I'm really lacking on, I think. But, like, you know, I'm only going to get to be so good. There is a point where I'm just not going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And, like, whenever I reach that, that'll happen. And that'll be fine. And then I'll just dance that way for a while, I guess. But, you know, for me, there's not an ideal. There's just the steps of getting to be as good as I can get.
It's like looking like putting one foot in front of you.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at
the
distance.
Yeah. I try to not look at the goal because the goal, I don't even know what the goal looks like. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to imagine a path somewhere that you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
So, get a little better here, get a little better there. Geek out on some stuff.
That's very interesting because every self-help sort of do-it-yourself sort of thing will always tell you, you know, you should have a goal in mind. You should always aim for something.
You should probably read one of those books.
Maybe that. I mean, you're doing pretty well for yourself here.
Yeah, the question is, if I had a goal, how much better would I be? Oh, snap. No, I don't know. I mean, for me, that's how it works. Like, and I think that's the other thing is that people got to figure out how they learn.
Yeah.
Because, like, I have to be inspired to learn something, or I'm gonna not give it any effort. Like, I'm not self-motivated enough, I think, to just be like, it's time for dance practice now. Like, I have to be interested in it, or I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put shit out there.
Yeah.
Like this routine I'm doing for Camp Jitterbug in 5 days, for example. I have known I was doing this routine for 3 months, and I picked out a song, and I got like my props. I'm doing like a double veil thing, so 2 veils. And I got all my props. I got my veils dyed. Went and got a costume that I have not made yet, and I just started making this routine up 2 days ago. it's been 3 months. And now I'm all panicked about it. But like, that's kind of how I work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to like, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna practice it, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna do it on Friday, and then it's done. And like a little bit of like horrible fear and fire behind me is kind of what I need to get going.
Yeah.
But I tried like 10 times to start this routine, and I just had no inspiration.
Yeah.
I was just doing nothing. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait till I feel it. Sadly, that was 2 days ago.
Yeah,
It's coming along.
days.
It's coming along.
Yeah, 5 days.
I got half of it done in 1 day, so I should be able to do another half of it, you know,
It's another day.
Friday morning, and then done. Yeah.
Good props.
Yeah. Oh, good. That'll be good. The only other thing I would say about ILHC is that I don't even think we're close to done. Like,
Yeah.
it might be a long process, but I have high hopes for what we're going to be able to accomplish and what we're going to actually get to. And I think the last 5 years has been any indication it could be pretty awesome. I don't know how long it'll take to get there, and I'm not even sure about what that means, but you know, every year we have a couple new ideas,
Yeah.
and they kind of change it a little, and then every year we have a couple new ideas, and then we kind of change it a little, and I think that like we're getting to the point where we're getting in a groove of doing it, and how we do it, and whose job is what. You know, there's 3 of us, right? So
Yeah.
what Tina does and what I do, and like also what we excel at. Like there are some things that Tina very smartly does not let me touch. And there are some things that I do that like would annoy / bore the shit out of Tina. You know what I mean? And like so, we've kind of found our strengths a little bit, I think. And then we can help each other out in the things that, you know, she can help me get better at being a hard ass with business, right? And I can help her with, I don't know, probably nothing, but I can entertain her while she does work. But I think I foresee good things with ILHC. That's all. I don't feel like we found it. I don't feel like we're done. I feel like we're just gonna keep trying to make it better until.
You don't see a horizon yet.
No.
A goal.
No, I still don't have a goal, but I just every year I want to make it better than last year.
Yeah. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Makes me look forward to I generally look forward to working on ILHC compared to other events we've worked on in the past,
Yeah.
where I could not wait for it to be done before the weekend was over. Like I always get to the end of ILHC and like, hey, why don't we do another day of this?
Yeah. Well, and that, like last year, Tina and I were having lunch after ILHC, and I was like, want to start on next year? Like, I actually wanted to start, which was weird. I usually want to be like, I'm tired,
Yeah.
which I was also. Also, this last year after ILHC, I drove back here immediately after lunch and started building a floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mobtown Ballroom.
Okay.
Your latest endeavor.
Yeah, I'm pretty into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be going pretty well.
It is. It is going well. I mean, we were very lucky because we got, I don't know the appropriate way to say this, kind of got handed a scene.
Yeah.
So Summer and Dory had a really awesome thing going up here, but they just are busy. Like
Yeah.
and it got to a point where they were like, this is too much for us. We
Yeah.
do not have the time that this thing deserves.
Yeah.
And by that point, Michael and I had already started doing a lot of work. Like, we were teaching the classes, and Michael was attending every single dance and teaching all the drop-ins and doing all that stuff. And then, you know, finally we're like, we just need a home. Like, we're renting 3 subpar spaces a week, and they're all over the place, and they're like nothing is centrally located, and it's just whatever. And we have all these students and all of this energy, and if we could funnel the money that we're already spending in rent to these other places into an actual central place where we have it 7 days a week, we could really do a lot with that. And so that was kind of I've always also wanted to own a ballroom, so that was another secret part that I just wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, we were lucky because we had the students, and we had the energy, and we had the community, and we had the people, and so, you know, the first thing that people said to us when we told them we were going to open a ballroom was, what can I do to help? Like, how can I be involved in this? What do you need?
Yeah.
Do you just need me to bring you coffee? Do you want me to do hard labor? Do you need me to take your dog out while you're working on the floor for 18 hours a day? Like, all those things. So, do you need money? Like, people were astonishing with their niceties. Yeah, Baltimore is a really great community, and they needed the home.
Yeah. How much is that? How much do you think you attribute that to? That being this being Lindy Hoppers and this being Baltimore, as a combination of both.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, the Lindy Hop scene in itself. Like, how many events are there that are run with 0 volunteers? None.
Yeah.
There are none.
Yeah.
This whole scene runs on volunteers and runs on community. With some backers, you know what I mean? Like, you get some people that are willing to take the hit, and you get some people that help.
Yeah.
And you like put up a shower curtain and you have play, you know what I mean? Like, funny. But I mean, I think Baltimore in itself is a city where we're like kind of underdogs up here.
Yeah.
Like, it's a city that's lost 45% of its population in the past 15 years, something like that. And shows like Homicide and The Wire don't do great publicity other than making me feel really street.
Yeah. That's okay.
They don't do great publicity for the city. But like, Baltimore's cool because it's one of the few places I've been that you can actually still like put your little flag somewhere and stake out who you are.
Yeah.
Like in most places you go somewhere and there's a scene for everything, and you can fit yourself into someone else's scene, or like whatever, and then you're just like part of that scene, and that's how that is. But like here, you can still do stuff. You can be like, I'm gonna open a ballroom, and then you do, or you can be like, I'm gonna do this art installation, and then you do, and like, I mean, people really, I'm gonna start a band and be all of a sudden be like a personality. Like people still have kind of the ability to really make something happen here. Yeah. And so I think that's just the way everybody thinks. That's the way a lot of people think about it. So when we said we were going to start something, they were like, let me help you start a thing. That sounds great. It's going to be our thing, And so it is kind of our scene. Without our volunteers, we could not have opened that ballroom at the time. Yeah. We had, and hell, let alone our dancers, we also had my across the street neighbor, Remington, was there. Angel. He looks just like Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Remington was there from, for 10 to 12 hours a day with me, because Michael was at work. That's when Michael had a day job. Yeah. So he was there all day there with me, laying floors and leveling things and building stuff, and then Michael would come after work. And I would stay till like midnight, Michael would stay till like 2 or 3, and Remington would often stay with Michael, even though he had been there all day with me. He was just into it. He was like, this is a fun project. But yeah, I think part of it is that it's Lindy Hoppers, but part of it is that we have some really awesome people that are just really committed to like being part of something, which is awesome because I want them.
So Mobtown Ballroom, you talk about that a little bit more in terms of developing new dancers, getting or attracting people, and then trying to get them to stay and get better.
I mean, I think the thing about this city is that this city has, I love it here. I think it's great. But there are some really horrible aspects of the city. Our homeless population is enormous. Jobs are at an all-time low. There is drug abuse and dealing rampant in the streets. It's got a lot of, the seedy underbelly of Baltimore is like the seedy overbelly, the sides, the back, and the head. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of everywhere. There's good and bad things about it. There's not really anything good about that, but one of the interesting things about that is that so many people in the city work to end all those things, that when they go out and do something fun for themselves, they really throw everything they have into it. We have a lot of dancers that are like social workers and like child advocacy lawyers and doctors and people that work in methadone clinics and people that work with the homeless, and when they're done with work of helping you know, single mothers with 3-month-old babies off of the street to get into housing when they go out and want to have fun, and they want to go have fun. You know what I mean? And people do a lot of, I mean, people do a lot of normal jobs here too, but people do a lot of selfless jobs here, and I think that's one of the reasons we have people that are so committed to some of the stuff that we do, is because they kind of found a place where they can just like let loose and do whatever they want, and there's not a lot of, you know, there's not a lot of weight to swing dancing, right? There's not like, oh, the heaviness, I'm doing such an important thing, right? It's just like a thing that's fun and entertaining, and you meet people, and theoretically is very gregarious and interesting, you know. I kind of don't really remember your question.
Yeah, well, just to follow up on that, so it gets them here, so that kind of explains like this very eclectic crowd that makes up the Mobtown Ballroom. Earlier today we were at an open practice, which you guys have been doing, trying to get them to get better. You're just talking about your just general, I guess call it strategy, trying to get people that they've found Lindy Hop and they've decided like this is going to be a thing. What your general strategy is in trying to nurture that.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been fairly short-sighted in a lot of ways in Baltimore, because Michael and I both came from other cities with other scenes that were a bit more serious and like a bit more intense in the like, it's time to get better and be awesome and do contests, and you know what I mean, and like a little bit more like maybe competitive is a word that I'll use, I don't know. But I won't put my words in Michael's mouth, but at least for me, I was like, I don't really want that. I want something that's really fun. And so we kind of swung the pendulum pretty hard in the other direction. We were like, it's all about fun. Fuck being good. Who cares about rock stepping? I don't care if you bounce on the beat. As long as you are dancing and having a good time, this is really entertaining. Which was awesome for a while, and I think one of the reasons a lot of the people that we have actually got hooked. And I actually, in hindsight, it was kind of a brilliant idea. Instead of starting people out with like, oh, this is the first week and let's do 45-minute attention exercises to talk about lead and follow. Like, they'll get lead and follow as they go. You got to have them be able to go social dance, because the other thing that you end up with is that, you know, if you get people that are great at like tension matching but can't swing out, then what's the point? They're not going to keep coming to class to fucking do exercises. You know what I mean? They want to be able to go social dance. That's why people take classes in this. So that's been really good. But now people are actually getting really good. And we haven't even been focusing that much on that stuff. So open practice was kind of an idea that we didn't even have. Two of our dancers came and just said like, hey, we talked about it. We were like, we want to give some free time, like open, free, just the ballroom's open for people to come practice, but we don't really have time to do it. And so two of our dancers came and were like, we'll do it. We'll be there and we'll help people. Whether one person comes or whether 50 people come, we'll try to manage everybody and play music and, you know, answer questions and be willing to teach this whole time. And I'm often not there because it's on Sundays, and so a lot of the times I'm gone. But we go whenever we can. Michael goes pretty consistently, and I go whenever I'm here. But for me, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier a little bit, is like kind of empowering people to just try to get better on their own, like try to figure stuff out. And it's cool because what it's kind of come down to is like, people come up and they're like, hey, will you help me with my whatever? And then we sit with them for like, you know, 2 or 3 minutes and like tell them stuff. Then they go practice. You know what I mean? It's not like a private where you have an hour and like you keep trying it and you keep getting feedback. Like, oh, this is the thing, and then you go over there and you keep trying to recreate that thing or do that thing, and then you take that thing and you make that thing something else. But what's also really cool is that it's not just me and Michael that people come to. Like when we're there, sometimes no one asks me anything. Sometimes I just dance with people, or sometimes I work on stuff with people, like for myself. And sometimes they ask me and sometimes they don't, but everyone asks each other. Like, there's, you know how to do this thing and I don't know how to do it, so I'm going to ask you for help. Right? Whether they've been dancing for 6 months or 5 years or 2 days. Like, if you can do something and someone else can't do it, and you're willing to share it, people will ask you for that. And that's really cool because it creates a little bit more ownership over the scene, I think. Because now there's all these people that come to open practice, that people like Kelsey and Bambi, who are the people that have been running it, I've been working with. They've been working with them for like 6 months now, and so now they have a little bit of ownership over stuff, and the more people you can have having feeling ownership over the scene, the better it gets. You know what I mean? Because everyone has a little bit of a stake in it, and they care whether it succeeds or fails.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Also, a free place to dance is great.
Can I argue with that?
All right, so if you had 1 minute to tell me, let's say I'm a person who wants to make my scene have a better sense of community than it does, and you only have like a few minutes to tell me like what the most important thing is in your opinion. What do you think it is?
I don't know if there's one most important thing, but I think there's a few. And I think that it's not creating a big gap between you and your students. They're all just people trying to learn how to dance and dance with each other. And I think that the scenes that do the best are the ones where the teachers are not these like weird demigods, but they are people that have this skill that you don't have, and they're willing to show you. They're willing to show you. You're paying them to show you. That's your job. But like, we try to do a lot of stuff where we actually get to know our students. So we like have parties at our house and invite them, and all of them, and like 3 times a session we go out and sing karaoke, and we invite all 3 of our Lindy Hop classes, so it's like 120 people or something, to go to this little stupid, hilarious, awesome dive bar and sing karaoke, because that is the great equalizer. You might not be able to swing out, but boy, can you sing hard. You know what I mean? Or like, and everybody's very nice to each other about it too. So even if you're not good, we're like, yes, nailing it. You know what I mean? Like, boy, can you sing loud? That's great. But I think that's a really good thing. Like actually having a relationship with those people, because I mean that's the thing, is that community is a group of people you have a relationship with. And I think a lot of times we try to make this community with like hierarchies. For like, well, I'm allowing you to be in my presence right now, and like that, people don't stick around for that stuff. They don't like that. I mean, who likes that? Nobody likes that. And I think that, you know, for me, not even in a strategic way, but in a like, I'm going to spend a lot of time with you people kind of way, I would like to get to know you so that we can talk about stuff that's not Lindy Hop, or even that is Lindy Hop. You know what I mean? But it's nice to actually get to know people, so that when you go to a dance, it's not like, oh, this is full of my students, but this is full of my friends, or at least my acquaintances that I can say something to. Like, I know something about them, and they know something about me that's not just Nina teaches me Lindy Hop on Wednesday nights. So for me, I think maybe that is the most important thing. I think that's the most important thing. It's having a sense of community outside of dancing. You can actually commune.
Now, to piggyback on that, in terms of, we were talking about, and you just mentioned the concept of, you know, having like, the concept of hierarchies. And one of the things one of my current theories about the scene is that the scene in general, however you want to define it, the Lindy Hop scene, nationally, internationally, is that I believe is actually smaller than it was 10 years ago when we had that big boom.
Yeah.
And everyone was in it. I think it's smaller than that, but however, I feel like the distance between, I think the only way to describe it is the classes. Is become very big.
Yeah.
So it used to be where we could go to the Ithaca Exchange, you know, and Sky would be there,
Mona would be there, yeah.
Mona would be there, and just dance with them. It would just be part of the crowd. But now Sky's the unicorn.
Is the unicorn? He comes in every 100 years on full moon and cries on someone and then leaves into the forest. Only to snuffle oats from someone's hand 100 years later. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, have you noticed something like that, and how do you feel?
I've totally noticed that, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for anyone that's ever talked to me, I'm a fairly friendly person. I enjoy talking to people, like, sometimes more than dancing. Like, I like hanging around with people, fairly extroverted. Mm-hmm. And for me, it actually is really hard, because it's harder for me to, like, at lunch at a workshop weekend, like, go sit down with a group of people and, like, just talk to them. It all of a sudden turns into an interview. People are like, so Nina, tell me about blah. And I'm like, okay, why don't you tell me about blah? What's your name? who are you? Let's talk. I mean, like, you know, it's kind of cool in a certain, I mean, like, when I actually think about it, it's kind of cool in a certain way to be like, I'm going to use this term extremely loosely, but famous, right? Like, people that I do not know who I am. Yeah. Let's call it that.
Yeah. You're a celebrity.
It's I mean, like a D-list celebrity. Q. I'm a Q celebrity. But, like, it's kind of cool in one way, but it's kind of weird in another, because at a certain point, when you reach any kind of level of celebrity, people are really interested in you. They're actually also interested in watching you fail. You know what I mean? Like, people are a little bit more interested in, like, look, Angelina Jolie has cellulite. Do you know what I mean? Like, weird stuff like that. Like, people love that weird drama. People want to follow the who's dating who and who's breaking up with who and who's, like, and I think that's a real bummer. Because you don't get to be part of the crowd. Yeah. You don't get to be a part of something. You are a little bit on, you have a little too much focus on you sometimes. And that can positively or negatively affect the scene depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, other than the sense that it's a little uncomfortable to have that kind of attention, it's also like, I have to think really hard sometimes about what I mean, I don't do a good job of it, but I have to think hard sometimes about what I do, because I'm like, this could actually affect things. Like, my actions could actually affect things. People are watching them, and they are paying attention to what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, if Joe Schmo beginner gets super drunk at a dance and dances around, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, but if I do it, it's probably gonna be on YouTube. That's interesting. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I think it's really sad, though. I think that without new dancers, we don't have a scene.
Yeah.
If no one new started dancing, if the last person to learn Lindy Hop has started, we're fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, the good dancers are good for the scene and they're inspiring, but the new dancers are actually what keeps the scene energized. Like, it's the only thing that keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Because being a good dancer is exciting in its own way, but, like, learning how to spin twice for the first time, like, I just did 2 turns in one move. Like, that's the most exciting thing that will ever happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the highs are so much higher when you're a new dancer.
Yeah.
And they bring an energy that is completely unparalleled by anybody else, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, that's something that we've lost a little bit of sight of because of, what did you call it? The cult of the traveling Lindy Hopper?
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's aspiring to be famous, and if everyone's famous, then no one's famous again. Just so we're clear. You know what I mean? Like, it is all relative.
Yeah.
If 70 people in your scene travel and teach Lindy Hop professionally, you're actually no longer interested anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think people don't realize is that, like, you know how you become an interesting person? You do something different than everybody else. You don't do this, like, if something has already been done 7,000 times, you're just the 7,001 person doing it. But if you go off and do something different that 5 people have done or 20 people have done, you're in a much smaller pool of interesting, and you can actually leave your mark on something.
Now you talked about strategies or what you guys do here locally to mitigate that, you know, to create a sense of community. Do you think there's a way to do something about that on this more national level, international level?
I think if local teachers start telling their students that super good dancers are just people, they will believe you. I mean, I think if everybody in their own community took a stand and was like, yeah, you know what? Those people are super good at dancing. They are just normal humans. If you get to dance with them, cool. If you don't, it doesn't actually matter. You know what I mean? And, like, if you get to say hi to them, you should. They're nice. Or they're not. Don't talk to them. Or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think that it starts at home. Like, it starts with people in their scenes watching YouTube videos and watching their teachers really idolize people, which is not a bad thing at all. Like, having respect for people and being inspired by people is amazing. But it's when you turn them into something that they're not, which is just another person swing dancing, that it becomes weird. But I think if people at home were just like, I mean, that's what we try to do. Like, a bunch of our students, not even students, a bunch of our friends and people from Baltimore last year went to ILHC. And and they were just like, ugh, because it was new. I mean, a lot of them had only been dancing less than a year.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, it was their first big event. And they were like, ugh, ugh, ugh. But before we went, I was like, hey, don't get freaked out by people. There's going to be a lot of super good dancers, and they are also just dancing. So if they're mean to you or nice to you or whatever, like this does not define you as a person or a dancer. Sometimes it's that they're tired, or sometimes it's that they think you're cute, or whatever. Like, it sometimes has nothing to do with dancing, so don't freak out about it. And they did a pretty good job. And in fact, a lot of people came home and they were like, I actually talked to blah, blah, blah. And I have this very specific opinion from my interaction with them as opposed to of their YouTube videos. Which I thought was cool. Like, and I think that might be something people can do. And from the other end, super fancy dancers can remember that they're just the king of the dorks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think swing dancing is really awesome, but it's a hilariously dorky, funny subculture. Do you know what I mean? And like, when you remember that, when you're like, I'm the king of the dorks, you get a little less lofty. You know what I mean? Yeah. And on the other hand, like, there's no reason to not be proud of the things you accomplish, but they don't make you a better person than anybody else.
Yeah.
In fact, there's nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean? You can be a total dickwad and be an amazing dancer, and you can be the worst peg leg on earth and still be an amazing person. And it shouldn't actually define you either way. Kind of separate.
Quick question.
Quick.
Who's your favorite person to dance with? Don't think about it too much. In the world.
She's thinking about it.
Oh no, I don't have one.
She's thinking about it.
Really?
I got ones for different reasons.
Oh yeah? Let's do 3 of them. Or 2. Or this
I'll do a couple.
Yeah.
I really love dancing with Todd because he's super musical and leads crazy things and makes me feel kind of like a good follower.
Yeah.
Which I'm not necessarily actually a very good follower. Pretty good dancer. I'm a fine follower. But I refuse to be cowed by a leader, so I'm not really like emotionally set up to be a very good follower. So at a certain point, like sometimes I'm like, no, I would really like to do this, so you could suck it. I'll give me a second. So I'm not necessarily a great follower, but so Todd's really good about that because he does incorporate my non-following into some sweet stuff, which I really appreciate. And then I know for me, Andy's just kind of like going home. Like, Andy and I have been dancing together for such a long time, and like I think that we've kind of grew into some stuff together, and so that always feels really good. And then on a totally bizarre note, Michael's actually one of my favorite people to dance with. For a couple reasons. Like, we teach together. Michael Seguin. Oh. Yes, that guy in there.
MC.
It's weird. It's weird because like he like not in a mean way, but in just like truth way. I dance with people that are better than him a lot. Because I'm really lucky and get to dance with all these very fancy, amazing people all the time. But what's cool about Michael is that he has absolutely no. I feel like he's a person that's like a really good dancer, but he holds me to absolutely no standard. Like, we can just have the shittiest dance of all time, or like the super best dance, and afterwards he's like, yeah, sweet. Like, nothing is on the line. There's no like, oh, I don't think I did super well with that. Like, I have punched him in face in class by accident dancing with him, and he's like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, and also like we have a different relationship than obviously than me and Andy or me and Todd. Very different, but it's cool because it really is about fun for him. Like, he really enjoys dancing. It is very apparent, and I can just have extremely fun dances with him that are either super good or super not good, and it's the same amount of fun kind of either way.
Yeah.
I actually dance with him more than I dance with anybody else because we live together, but also because like we teach a ton together. We teach like between 3 and 5 classes a week together, really consistently. So I don't know. I should have thought about that one more. No, don't think about it.
Yeah, don't think about it.
Thinking is bad.
It's a great answer. Who are some of your most influential old timers and why?
Well, Gene and Jewel. Gene Bellows and Joel McGowan were my first big influences. I loved the way Jean danced because I thought she was just the most graceful woman. That she's so poised and like she looks like Miss America swing dancing. Do you know what I mean? Her hair's all perfect. And then I liked Jewel because she was kind of the darker. She was kind of like the sexier side of that. Like Jean was so cute and Jewel was just so vampy. And I really liked, and just so chill. Like she would do killer stuff with her feet and just be like, whatever. You know what I mean? I thought that was really cool. Another one of my, it's really weird. I don't even know her name. The blonde woman from Don't Knock the Rock, short hair.
Yes.
White sweater and long black skirt.
Yes.
I think that's the only clip of her. I've never seen another clip. If there is another clip, I didn't recognize that it was her. But I mean, I've watched that 7 seconds 20,000 times probably. I think she's the shit. I mean, other than that, I have a lot of them, I guess. Almost all of the, not almost all of the Whitey's Lindy Hopper girls are killer in their very specific way. Like, for me, the Whitey's Lindy Hopper girls weren't as influential because so much of their stuff was so performance-based that, like it's hard to be super inspired by backflips. I mean, that's inspiring in a certain way, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's not quite the same. Like, you don't get to see them do, like, a lot of mid-tempo dancing. Which for me, I think is a little bit more indicative of how you actually dance than just super fast and super aerials and super routines. Norma's still inspiring to me because she's just the funniest, awesomest character of all time. She inspires me a little bit more, I think, as an older woman than she did as a younger woman. Like, her ability to just be like, this is who I am, I don't give a shit, like, is pretty awesome. I'm also vaguely envious of her ability to wear that big sequins. I'm really into that.
So dig swing, because if you don't dig swing, you don't dig fried chicken.
So, you grew up in the scene with Naomi?
Yes, I did.
Uyama.
Question mark?
Just so.
Right, so do you mind telling us a little bit about what it was like growing up in the scene amongst your good friend and fellow dancer Naomi?
Yeah.
Uyama?
It was interesting, and I would love to actually hear her answer to this question as well. Because I think, like, what's interesting is that when Naomi and I started, I was 13 and she was 16. And, like, at that time, like, when you were 13 years old, 16 is a worldly adult. You know what I mean? Like, she could drive, she had a period, do you know what I mean? Like, all these things that I was, like, just figuring out, right? Like, boys thought she was cute, she did not have braces, it was crazy, right? So when we first started, like, I really deferred to her a lot. But it was interesting, like, the way that, the way, like, any relationship changes and grows, right, as you get older. Because now, 27 and 30 is actually not, it's like our age now, you know what I mean? As opposed to, like, before my age and Naomi's age were really very different. And now it's kind of the same. I don't know, one of the things I think I feel most grateful for is that we kind of got to experience it together. Like, we took our first classes together, went our first jam together, went to our first contest together, we taught at our first weekend together. I mean, like, all my big firsts in swing dancing were on our first team together. Like, they all involved Naomi, which I think is really cool. But the other thing that's really cool is that, like, we actually both got to similar places together, which is cool. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, at some point one of us was like, I don't like this anymore, or was one of us wasn't like, I'm really not good at this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so we actually got to, we got to go, like, the whole way together, which is really cool. And we have obviously super different experiences, and we haven't even lived near each other for the past 5 years. But yeah, it's neat. Like, it's cool that, like, she super knows where I'm coming from, and I kind of know where she's coming from too. You know what I mean? Like, because we have the exact same start. And it is interesting. I mean, like, Jerry said this before, but, like, it's interesting to see because, like, for, like, people that I know now from dancing that have not seen Naomi and I around each other are like, oh, do you know Naomi? And I'm like, that's the funniest question you've ever asked. Like, yes, I know Naomi. But it's true. Like, you couldn't tell now that she and I started dancing together. It's not like we look similar when we dance. and I don't even think we teach very similarly or like even say very similar things. Like we really took our own approach to this, you know. But it is cool also because I know that there is someone forever in the scene that I can be like, remember when blah, like how hilarious was that, or like how ridiculous, or remember that when that happened. That's really cool, I think, to have someone you can look back on your whole dancing career and be like, you were there, you saw it, you know what I mean? I think it's really cool.
So follow up on that question. Do you ever consider, or do you ever think about the fact that your peer group, not just you and Naomi, but like people like Sky and Andy and the rest of these people, who you not only quote unquote grew up with, but you're considered probably I guess you would call it probably the most influential group of dancers in our scene. And we've talked about how that's kind of how hierarchies are not very good, but do you actually consider, or you actually consider the amount of influence that you have, or you guys have in general? Is that?
Yeah, Peter Strom and I were actually talking about this at Midwest Lindy Fest. I stayed with him. Naomi was out of town, but I stayed with Peter and we sat on his porch, like you do, smoking cigarettes. I was smoking, he wasn't smoking. Peter does not smoke. But we sat on his porch and talked a lot about that. And like, I mean, I think I don't have a really very realistic view or grasp on like what my role is in the scene.
Yeah.
I think in my head it's much less interesting than maybe it is in real life, like we were talking about before. Maybe I just don't pay very good attention. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But Peter and I were talking about that, about how like I feel a little bit like, for whatever reason, we all ended up in this place and like got past like a small amount of the torch. I don't think any one of us carries the weight of the scene on its shoulders or something, but you know, you do have, like at a certain point, like you do have a responsibility and to the scene. Because with great power comes great responsibility. I had to say that, sorry that happened. But you do have a certain amount of responsibility for the scene, and like, you know, the things you say actually do influence people's dancing. People do listen to you when you say stuff. And what's interesting is that the reason I kind of thought about it and noticed it was because I noticed, how do I say this on film the right way? I noticed some things happening in the scene that I really did not agree with, and then started to think about where those things come from, and realized like how much influence every single teacher has over everything, and how one person saying something enough times actually does create a lot of people listening. And so, you know, if other people are going to make grand statements that I don't agree with, I'm going to not talk about what those things are or who those people are, but I'm going to take my little stance that I have, and I'm going to say the things I want to say, because if, you know what I mean, like if I have the chance to say that's bullshit about something that I think is bullshit, I'm going to do it. I don't know, I think I'm just kind of realizing that like, if there's a point I want to get across, I actually can get it across, and that's... Yeah. It's cool and dangerous at the same time.
Yeah. Because we had previously talked, because I had previously added all these things up that Nina does. ILHC, Mobtown Ballroom, International Lindy Hop Instructor. She had actually not put that all together. You're in many people's minds, you're that ideal that we were talking about previously, that they would like to shoot for it some distant future.
Yeah.
I would like to be like, if I want to envision like all the cool things that I could possibly accomplish in the hop scene,
You know what's interesting though is that like with all those things, you give up other things to become those other. You know what I mean? Like to become one thing, you kind of close the door on other things.
Yeah.
Like I very rarely get to go to a dance and just be a person there.
Yeah.
Almost never, unless I'm in Baltimore. But then I'm a business owner. Then I'm the ballroom owner. So like, even people that have no idea if I'm a good dancer or not, I'm still the owner of the club, right? So like, you give that up. You give up the like just doing it because you love it. Because at a certain point, like, it's my income. It's what keeps the roof over my head. You know what I mean? It keeps me alive.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little bit more serious. If you don't just get to be like, I just want to dance. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I still am that way about some things, but like, it does, at least for me, it does take a little bit of the magic out of it. Like, when it becomes a little bit more about your jobs and a little bit more about like navigating all this stuff, it takes a little bit of the sweet magic of just like, I walk into a ballroom and there's a band playing and I get to go jump around and kick for 3 hours. On the other hand, there's a whole different layer of magic that I get to experience that a lot of people don't, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like, having an influence on something that I love and being able to teach other people how to do this thing that I love and helping to create better dancers so that I can dance with them. You know what I mean? Like, that's really cool in itself. But it does, like, you don't get everything. You know what I mean? And like the paths that you decide to take, they do shut other doors. So you just have to be prepared to be like, oh, okay, you know what? I am now a fancy professional traveling Lindy Hop instructor, and that means that I dance 3 nights a week, whether I'm sick, whether I have dysentery, if my leg is broken, if I feel bad, if something horrible is happening in my life, if I just broke up with my boyfriend. Like, no matter what happens when you go to a dance, you are an on and happy person because you are being paid to. Do you know what I mean? You don't get to have an off night. You don't get to have that kind of stuff. And that makes it sound super negative, and it's not super negative, but it is like, sometimes, like, I have definitely been in situations where I had swine flu in Korea, and I was dying. You know, and you still go out and you, like, I wasn't contagious anymore, so I was still going out and dancing, but I felt like shit. And I was puking during classes, and I was puking in the bathroom at the evening dances. And then I would, like, get it together and go back out and dance, because you don't get a sick day. There's no sick days. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm going to call in sick to work and I'll just catch up those classes on Monday. Like, what? No, you can't do that. And I think that's the kind of stuff that people don't think about. They think about, like, being kind of fancy and everyone kind of being interested in who you are, but they don't think about, you know, living out of a suitcase and being in an airport 5 weeks out of the year. I did that math one time. Have I told you this?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Last year, I spent like 4.5 weeks accumulatively either in an airport or on an airplane.
A month out of the year.
I spent a month
1/12
in an airplane or in an airport. It's horrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking wasted time. It's not wasted time. That sounds really horrible. But, like, it is. It's kind of like when you think about it that way, like, this is the 12th of my year that I spent reading horrible books. Which I guess is my choice. But, I don't know, that part of it's interesting.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, if I could go back in time and be a nurse instead.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I wouldn't do it, but I would think really hard.
Yeah.
You know?
What would you trade for? Like, is there an alternate reality where Nina Gilkenson is a nurse or something that she really wanted to pursue that
well, I mean, I'm
was not
kind
dancing?
of gonna trade it because I'm gonna stop traveling so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm gonna. I think realistically, I'll probably not stop traveling entirely because I have so many friends that I really care about that I would never see again, which would be extremely sad. And it, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna stop dancing either way, but whether I stop traveling or not, I mean, I want to have a family. This is not conducive to that.
No.
I mean, I want to have a family where, like, I'm actually part of it. Like, I'm there all the time and I am a constant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I was ever in the situation where I could still travel and Michael and our kids could come with us, like, that would be one thing. But if there's a, like, you know, Hell, when I got a dog, I was like stressed out about leaving our dog. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if I have a kid, I'm not going to be able to be like, okay, bye, 7-month-old, I'm going to go, peace out now. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would break my heart. So for me, I mean, I feel like that's maybe the next, and that's actually, that was a small but deciding factor in opening a ballroom, is that I still feel connected to this thing, and like, you know, and in some ways, like we talked about before, like, it's the only thing I've ever put this much, it's the only thing in my life I've ever dedicated this much time to, seeing as it's half my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only thing I've ever put, and I think that like just walking away from it would be like horrible toxic culture shock for me, and I would lose something about me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't define me, but it's certainly part of who I am.
Yeah.
And but like having a ballroom actually kind of fulfills some of that stuff, because I still get to teach, I still get to dance a lot, I still get to be part of something, and you know, connected to it. And even if I don't keep going around teaching, like, you know, I can still be part of deciding who comes and teaches here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still get exposed to what's going on. And so like that seems like a really positive thing, because hopefully in the next couple of years I can start traveling like 5 times a year instead of 40, and then, you know, have a family and buy a gallon of milk and a whole loaf of bread, things like that.
Whoa, hold on. We can cut. Don't get ahead of yourself. Oh, bread. It's not going to go bad. Are you serious?
I haven't bought
Are
a
you
gallon.
serious?
Do you know that how long it's been since I bought a gallon of milk? 8 years. I don't think I bought a gallon of milk in 8 years.
Out there's probably a lot of dancers who are just now getting into Lindy Hop, and perhaps just now discovering that they have a pretty big passion for it and for what it can offer them in their lives. What advice do you have for them as they start getting into this thing called Lindy Hop?
I don't know. I think some good advice is just to remember why Lindy Hop's important to you, and don't let it take over everything in your life. I think that's some good advice. You know what I mean? Like, Lindy Hop's, for me, Lindy Hop's important because I love dancing. I love all kinds of dancing, not just Lindy Hop. Like, I belly dance quite a bit now, and I took some time off from that, but I'm back into it a lot, and I love it. And there was a contra dance at our dance last night. I did my first contra dance. That was super fun and hilarious. But I mean, like, the times I have the least fun Lindy hopping are when I let extraneous bullshit get in the way, and I forget that, like, moving around is really fun. And moving around with someone else and, like, having a weird connection with someone for 3 minutes, kind of singular and awesome. So I think that's good advice. Like, don't. Every scene has politics and egos and hurt feelings and stuff like that, and just remembering that, like, it's just a group of people doing something. It's just like being a cheerleader or playing Magic the Gathering or being in a band or anything. It's just a group of people with all of those people's positive and negative qualities, and like it's 100, like everything that happens to people is about them. You know what I mean? I think that if someone could have gone back, if I could go back in time and have me tell me to not freak out when people won't dance with me, it would have changed my dance experience. You know what I mean? And like now that I am someone that people want to dance with, like my body is constantly falling apart. Like my knees and hips and feet are screwed. I'm gonna need new knees very soon. And so I don't social dance that much because it's painful. You know what I mean? Like not emotionally, but like physically painful. Which is sad in itself for me. But like I know, like there's been a couple people that have asked me to dance, and I've been like, oh no, my knee, and blah blah, and they're like just so crestfallen. I feel so bad because I'm creating that experience for them, and I don't want to do that. But it's not about them at all. It's about me. You know what I mean? And like when I go back and think about like the fancy people that said no to me, like maybe they had strep throat or like a upset stomach. Maybe they had gas. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's experience is kind of about them. So make your experience about you, and just don't let anything ruin it for you, because it's pretty amazing. You don't get wrapped up in the bullshit. It's the best place on earth.
I feel like there should be music playing.
That's a great answer.
And the time of my life. Never felt this way before. I don't know. Yes, I swear it's the truth. And I owe it all to you. Oh, and the time of my life. I owe it all to you.
Hey, this is Spuds.
And Slick Rick.
And Zucker Punch.
And you are launching a word on swing. That's how
So
we
is
roll.
this going to be a video of Bobby taking a video of me? Is that what's happening right now?
Oh shit, it's pointed at us.
Yeah. You're a celebrity.
It's I mean like a D-list lover. Q. I'm a Q celebrity. I kind of don't really remember your question.
Nina Gilkenson, I love you. That's not really a question though. But these are the things that I want to say to you.
That's fine. We could just, how about instead this interview just be you guys saying nice things. Which I'm not necessarily actually a very good follower. Pretty good dancer. I'm a fine follower. But I refuse to be cowed by a leader, so I'm not really like emotionally set up to be a very good follower.
You're so hot.
You're so awesome.
Okay. Now I'm uncomfortable.
This is Spuds.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
The seedy underbelly of Baltimore is like the seedy overbelly, the sides, the back, and the head. It's one of the few places I've been that you can actually still like put your little flag somewhere
Yeah.
and stake out who you are. People do a lot of selfless jobs here, and I think that's one of the reasons we have people that are so committed to some of the stuff that we do, is because they kind of found a place where they can just like let loose and do whatever they want.
Sorry, let me go down batteries.
We get another cough drop.
No, yeah, no, cigarette. We'll do our things.
This is Spuds.
Slick Rick.
It's cigarette. But like that's kind of how I work. Like I'm used to like, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna practice it, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna do it on Friday, and then it's done.
Now Sky's the unicorn.
Is the unicorn. He comes in every 100 years on full moon and cries on someone and then leaves in the forest. I mean, I think swing dance is really awesome. What is a hilariously dorky, funny subculture? When you remember that, when you're like, I'm the king of the dorks, you get a little less lofty. It's all about fun. Fuck being good. Who cares about rock stepping? I don't care if you bounce on the beat. As long as you are dancing and having a good time, this is really entertaining.
This is Jerry.
And Bobby White. Oh wait, you said just Jerry. We got this. We got this.
You get some people that are willing to take the hit, and you get some people that help. And you like put up a shower curtain and you have to play. Do you want to go get in the shower?
Look, both of you.
Interview
I could
just got a lot more interesting.
There's a whole different layer of magic that I get to experience that a lot of people don't, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like having an influence on something that I love and being able to teach other people how to do this thing that I love and helping to create better dancers so that I can dance with them. You know what I mean? Like that's really cool in itself. Because with great power comes great responsibility. I had to say that. Sorry, that had to happen. I like talking to you. It's easy to do this because it's you.
Hi everyone. I'd like to welcome to you.
I'd like to welcome to you.
Yes.
This is happening.
We are here with the illustrious Nina Gilkenson on her front porch here in the lovely small town of Baltimore, Maryland. And we're going to spend the next however much time I'm going to edit talking to Nina about a whole range of subjects.
Perfect. Nailed it.
Oh. Yeah,
Want to know about Lindy Hop? Lindy Hop is in here. This is where you Lindy Hop from.
No way. I had facial hair. Getting all rugged on me.
Just for you.
You know who'd be into this?
Nina Gilkenson.
Nina Gilkenson. Loves rugged men.
Coming looking like them.
The time